We've got another problem where we're trying to identify a missing length. You can see it's this value of x as the bottom side of the large triangle. We're given some other information. The entire hypotenuse of that large triangle is 8. We know part of it is 2, which is going to allow us to find the other part of it should be 6. We'll get back to that in a second. Again, as you're setting up a proportion to solve these things, you've got to identify which parts of which triangles you actually know something about. So if I look at the smallest triangle over here, I know that the short leg of that triangle is 2, but that's about it. If I only know one of those sides, I'm probably not going to end up using this triangle. If I look at the medium triangle, I know that the hypotenuse of that medium triangle is x. And at first it might not look like I know either of the other sides, but remember, if this entire thing is 8 and this part is 2, then we can say that that long leg of the medium triangle must be 6. Okay, so we do know 2 parts of it. One's a variable, but ultimately we know how to label 2 parts of those that medium triangle. If I look at a large triangle, I know the hypotenuse, and I know the long leg is x. Okay, so the 2 triangles that I'd pick out to compare would be the medium triangle. I'm going to list that right here. Medium triangle. That'll be this fraction that I'm going to set up. And we're going to compare that to the large triangle. I'll put that one here. Within those 2 triangles, I got to know which parts of the triangles I'm comparing. So I know something, I know the hypotenuse in both of them. I'll put those in my numerator. And I know the long leg in both of them. I'll list that as the denominator. Okay, and again, you could switch these around, and it doesn't matter as long as you've got this set up so you know exactly which parts are going where. Okay, so let's fill this in. If I'm looking at the medium triangle over here, and I'm trying to find the hypotenuse of that, that's going to be the x value that I'm trying to find. The long leg of that medium triangle is 6. So now let's look at the large triangle, the whole thing. The hypotenuse of the whole thing, the large triangle, is 8. And the long leg of that large triangle is x. And at first glance you might think, well, that's no good, I've got the variable in 2 spots. But if I can still use this and still cross multiply, I get x squared when I multiply these. And that should be the same as, it should be equal to 6 times 8, 48. And now I can solve for this. When I take the square root of both sides, I get x. And this equals, for now I'll just call it the square root of 48. And some people have said, well, isn't that plus or minus the square root of 8? If it's just purely algebra, yes. But since we're talking about an actual distance, we can't have a negative distance, so that's going to be positive. If I simplify that radical, I'm able to pull out 4, and that'll end up being the square root of 3. So either of these would be correct. This one is more simplified. You'll notice 48 is really close to 49, so this is going to end up being a value that's just less than the square root of 49, which would be 7. Okay, so if I look back up here, does it make sense that x would be about 7? Just slightly under it? Yeah, that makes sense, so that's a pretty good estimate.